What's going on YouTube? It's Big Larry with 5 Out Productions, man. Hope you're having a good day today. This is episode 6 of my YouTube channel called KD to the Pistons. This is going to be starting my new series as well. So before I post a mock trade on Instagram, I'm going to record a YouTube video, kind of me going over the trade in Fanspo, and you guys get to see exactly what was going through my mind making the trade, and why I traded this first round pick or why I traded that player, how I matched salaries, caps together, and things of that nature. You guys will be able to see all of that here on YouTube. And then when I post it on Instagram, you know exactly what happened. So that's my thought process with this new series. I'm starting off with KD to the Pistons. So to put some background information on both teams, so the Phoenix Suns not having the best season right now. They have rumors of trading Kevin Durant this offseason. The Suns are in the 11th seed right now. They're out of the play-in tournament in the Western Conference, and even with it, a first round appearance, they're probably going to get knocked in 4 or 5 games in the first round. This team is just not built to win a championship. There's a lot of question marks on the team as far as what Bradley Beal can contribute. How will Nick Richards hold up against the other starting bigs in the Western Conference? There's the bonuses, the Jokic's of the world, things of that nature. Um, on top of that, we have question marks with uh, Ryan Dunn and Tyus Jones. You know, a lot of these role players that have a lot of significant value on this team as far as their contributions really matter and need to be, they need to be excellent to even have a chance. Are these role players going to be able to keep up with that expectation? Is Devin Booker going to be able, and Devin Booker and KD scoring is not going to be enough to get to these teams? That has not been the case so far this entire regular season. So I doubt that will be a possibility. So with their hands tied behind their back, they're also over the second apron, which means they can't trade. They can't put players together to make a trade. It has to be a one-for-one deal where they trade a player and they get more back in return, which makes it pretty difficult for them to make moves. And also over the second apron, they can only sign for the most part on minimum salaries. So these top role players in free agency, they can't really get their hands on because they want more than just the vet minimum. On top of that, this offseason, they're going to lose Tyus Jones. They're going to lose Monte Morris to on expiring deals. Bobo has outplayed his expiring deal of like $2 million. So a lot of these guys that are going off, the role players for them, they're likely going to get moved this offseason in free agency with better offers on the table from other teams. And top that off, Bradley Beal, $50 million on the table for the next 3 years. And he has a no trade clause, which means he cannot get traded unless he gives consent to that trade. He has to agree to that trade for him to get traded, which makes it another, you know, um, problem with the Phoenix Suns. Something they can do. So they have the second apron, they have their expiring role players, and they have Bradley Beal's contract, which is basically immovable at this point, especially him not being too marketable of a player that teams want to put on their championship team or just a rebuilding team, whatever. Teams don't really want him either. So they kind of have their hands tied. I think the next move for them, which has been kind of sparking up recently, is KD rumors of them getting moved this offseason, which seems like a very realistic possibility. With their hands being tied, them not going anywhere, they kind of need to go and trade something, try to get a pick of theirs back, maybe from the Rockets, or trade Kevin Durant, get some young rebuilding assets such as first round pick, draft capital, or some young players to help that roster. From the Pistons standpoint, the Pistons have been amazing this season compared to last season. They're on a 28 losing streak last season, which they broke on the Raptors as well. So basically, with this team, they acquired some great shooting assets this offseason with Tobias Harris and Malik Beasley. But Malik Beasley's on an expiring contract. Tobias Harris expires next year. But nonetheless, they've also had Cade Cunningham, who's developed since last season. Jaden Ivey, who's got better. Jalen Duren, who's got better. Asar Thompson has shown to be a great value on this team, as well as Ron Hahn. They have a lot going for them, and top that off, they have Simone Fontecchio, who's been an excellent shooter for them this season. So they added a lot of shooting and had a lot of development to get them to the 6th seed when they were a lottery team last season. Now they're going to be in the playoff. They might get a playoff berth, and we'll see what this team looks like in the playoffs. They made a significant improvement, but we're not. No one's counting the Cade and the Pistons as a championship contending level team. They need another push for that. I think Kevin Durant can make that push for them, and I also think they have enough draft capital and young pieces on that team to make an attractive offer to the Phoenix Suns for Kevin Durant. So without further ado, I'm going to get into the trade. I'm going to be using Fanspo, my trade machine app that I personally use for my mock trades, to make this trade happen. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. Okay, perfect. It works. All right, so I'm going to be trading Kevin Durant to the Pistons, like I said before. Get these ads out the way. It's not what I wanted to do. All right, there we go. Nope, it's back. There we go. So we're going to trade the Phoenix Suns, which are the 11th seed right now, to the Detroit Pistons, the 6th seed. So let's move Kevin Durant, start that off. Oh, before I do that, I want to mention, if you guys take a look right here at the cap space that the Pistons have, 29 million in tax space, 35 million in the first apron space. That means that they have money freed up in their salary, so they didn't really max out their salary cap, which is a good thing. They have more availability and movement available to them as far as the trade goes, because they don't have to match salaries perfectly. They have some space to kind of help break even. So if they traded a Tobias Harris, if they traded for a $20 million player that only gave Tim Hardaway 16 million back, that 4 million is not going to be an issue because they have this $129 million cap space. As opposed to the Phoenix Suns, who are over the second apron and the first apron, they don't have that flexibility. They can't even put players together to make a trade happen because they can't aggregate players. So they're kind of had their hands tied behind their back, like I mentioned earlier. And the Suns also don't really have that wiggle room at all. They can really only sign minimum contracts, like I mentioned previously. That's why we kind of seen all these Mason Plumlees, Bobo, Monte, Damian Jones, all on minimum veteran contracts for $2 million because that's all they can really afford, which is not super attractive to a lot of free agency players. But without further ado, let's get into the trade. Gonna trade Kevin Durant to the Pistons, make that happen. Now to better match these salaries, how you see right here, we don't want them to go under their space, so we're going to trade people away. Now, since this is kind of being done after the trade deadline, when I trade away Tim Hardaway or an expiring contract like Tyus Jones, I'm not actually trading the player away. So this case scenario, I'm kind of projecting for the offseason. So we got kind of have to act like Tim Hardaway Jr.'s contract, $16 million expiring, is just the money being freed up. So this 60 million is kind of just cap space. I'm not trading away Tim Hardaway Jr. I'm trading away the cap space availability that the Pistons have, if that makes sense. Tim Hardaway may or may not resign with the team next year. If he does, it's going to be on a lower contract. So I'm not sure what's going to happen to Tim Hardaway Jr., but I'm not trading him to the Suns for next season. I'm just trading away his the cap space that he's going to free up this offseason, since this trade is kind of being worked on right now. It can't be officially happening or being worked on officially to the offseason when the 16 million is expiring. Sorry about that. The 16 million is expiring. So Tim Hardaway Jr., 16 million. Before the trade deadline, this will work, of course. But since it's after the trade deadline on February 6th, I'm just acting like it's a free agency move and this money is expiring. But without further details, I'm just going to trade him away. So that's going to be 16 million freed up in cap space. So just ignore the whole name right here. Just think about that 16 million expiring in the cap space it's going to generate. As we can see, to make this trade happen, not gonna have enough money. We need to make more financial moves. With this contract over warning, That's kind of just what I just explained with after the trade deadline and before the offseason. This is kind of a weird time to make trades. I'm still trying to get that content out to for you guys. This is just some stuff that's going to happen in the meantime. And then on top of that, I'm going to trade away Tobias Harris. The reason I'm trading away Tobias Harris is because he's been an excellent shooter, like I mentioned earlier, when going over the Pistons. But he's going to be playing similar minutes and position to Kevin Durant, which is not that meaningful for Tobias Harris. We don't really need his value on that team with Kevin Durant coming onto the team, especially when Kevin Durant's going to take a majority of his minutes. So Tobias Harris is not needed as much on the Pistons with KD coming on the team. On top that off, Tobias Harris is on expiring contract, which can be valuable for the Suns. He's an easily movable, tradable piece. You can get something back in return for him next trade deadline, or even earlier than that. Or he can just kind of be a shooter and help the team out. Because regardless, he's not a big issue for the team. His defense is a question mark, but his shooting is not. So I'm gonna move off of Tobias Harris as well, as he's not needed for the Pistons, and he can be a valuable asset for the Suns when trying to trade him, or let his money dump off in the books next offseason, and they'll kind of help them get under the second apron. They'll still be over the first, but they'll be under the second apron, which gives them more flexibility as far as the players cannot be aggregated clause in the second apron. So on top of that, we're also going to move away. I'm going to move Marcus Sasser, like I mentioned before. I think the money is kind of done right now. So with the bias move and Tim Hardaway Jr. move, there's no money warning. So we're kind of good with the money issue within this deal. Now we're just going to focus on giving the Suns the proper assets to make this trade attractive to the Phoenix Suns. So without further ado, I'm going to trade away Sasser. They kind of have their point guards right now. They have Kay Cunningham, who's been rising, especially with a playoff team. Now being a playoff team, they're probably going to focus more on like a Dennis Schroeder backup instead of kind of focusing on developing a younger piece like a Marcus Sasser. So I'll go ahead and trade Marcus Sasser since they're in a position to kind of contend and try to be a playoff team instead of developing youthful players. That's where the Phoenix Suns are probably heading into, and especially for the Phoenix Suns side, with Marcus Sasser on a nice friendly deal, team option as well. If they decide to move off of him next season, they have the availability, and they'll avoid paying $5 million to Marcus Sasser if they don't want to. And to top that off, they kind of are missing out on their point guards right now. Their current rotation is Tyus Jones and Monte Morris, with them expiring this offseason, and then might probably most likely getting a better deal in free agency. And I'm not resigning with this team. They kind of need point guard depth. And they only have Vasily Mitkig. I don't really know how to say his name. I apologize for that. But either way, he has a team option 2025. So Suns are probably going to. Suns could either keep him for the $8 million, or they could let that money go and try to get someone else in free agency. But I think their best case scenario is just to resign him right now. So you guys have a point guard, and then you guys can kind of move him in the trade deadline, or even next offseason, let his contract expire, extend them, whatever they want to do, deciding on how he plays this season. But I think with trading Marcus Sasser, maybe re-signing him is a good idea. So you guys have a point guard rotation next season. It's not going to be a good one, but at least you're developing Marcus Sasser and you're seeing what value you can pull out of Vasily Mikic. It's probably wrong again. Sorry about that. Next, we're going to move draft capital, in my opinion. Another move they could make is Ron Holland. I don't think anyone else is getting traded. I don't think Suns don't really have interest in bringing on any like Paul Reed or anything like that nature. Maybe Paul Reed, but he's expiring, so they really don't have the Pistons don't really have the authority to make the move because he's going to be expiring. They don't know if they're going to resign him or not, or maybe get something better in free agency. Kind of like I mentioned before, contract's ending, so he's expiring. That goes for all these players. They're probably going to resign Malik Beasley. I'd imagine that everyone else, they can kind of not resign with this team. We don't know. Dennis Schroeder might resign, but we'll see. The next name I would move is Ron Holland. Young player, small forward, fits perfectly into what the Suns are trying to do with youthful assets, and he fills in a position that's going to be vacant with Kevin Durant being moved. Issue I have with this is the Pistons. I think they value Ron Holland pretty nicely. He's a nice. They have a nice little small forward rotation with these two right now, and they're young. He has 4 years left on this deal. I don't see the Pistons moving off him, so I'm gonna go ahead and ignore that, and we're gonna focus on draft capital instead of youthful players. Marcus Sasser is gonna be the youthful player in this deal. So I'm gonna go ahead, 2027. So this team is gonna be. This is 2 years from now. This team's gonna be solid. This is Kevin Durant's hopefully still gonna be at the star level within 2 years. That third year, fourth year is kind of when I'm expecting him to decline significantly. But right as of right now, it's 2 years from now. I'm not expecting Kevin Durant to have a massive drop off. So his team's still gonna be in playoff contention. They're still gonna have Jaden Ivey and Kid Cunningham. I just showed you Ron Holland contract for 4 more years. So they're probably still gonna have a lot of their youthful players and this good, lineup of a team and a roster. So I don't think this 2027 pick is gonna be super valuable for them to trade away. I'm gonna move on to my 2029. This is 4 years from now. This was where Ron Holland has to get a new deal. Sorry, Thompson got to get a new deal. Jaden Ivey got to get a new deal. Jalen Duran got to get a new deal. Is Malik Beasley still going to be on this team? Kevin Durant probably going to start declining significantly. There's a lot of question marks. Whenever you have a lot of question marks, that's when a trade pick becomes valuable because this could be a lottery pick. And everything goes, doesn't go as planned or it just kind of declines over time as a linear regression. The 2029 pick can be very valuable, so I'm going to trade this away. Since we're only giving up Marcus Sasser and Tobias Harris really in this deal, especially with Tobias Harris' contract expiring, same goes for with Tobias Harris' contract expiring. I'm going to move away from that 2029 first-round pick to kind of make this trade attractive for the Phoenix Suns, especially when they don't really have any draft capital. They have a lot of swaps on their draft picks. And so even if they do get a lottery pick, it's going to be traded away because other teams are going to take that pick because they have the rights to the swap. So 2029 first has been traded away. I'm going to give them another one. So 2031, and again, that's like 6 years away. Kid Cunningham is going to be on a new contract by that time. I see right now. So yeah, there's a lot even more question marks with this team. I think this is enough value. 2 unprotected first-round picks for a 36-year-old who's a superstar, don't get me wrong, but he is older, probably declining in a few years. So the most I would give in this trade is probably Marcus Sasser, Tobias Harris. Those 2 unprotected first-round picks. I might even throw a protection on it just to be play safe. I might just throw a top 3 protected. Yeah, I'm debating because we're not giving them too much value as far as player talent. The real assets to this deal is the draft capital. So you could put a protection on it, but I'm going to leave it unprotected just because of their name, Kevin Durant. Hopefully they're fine with this move. So salary, it works. Contract, it works. Buster Capont, I can ignore that. And this is the trade I would make. Yeah, this is it. And again, just to explain this trade a little bit more, Kevin Durant will be traded to Pistons. Hopefully bring that team to the next level. And for the Suns side, they would get Marcus Sasser, a young point guard that they can kind of develop, work this roster with. Hopefully he works out with them. Tobias Harris to get some shooting that they're losing from Kevin Durant, get some of that scoring and shooting back with Tobias Harris. Of course, not on the same level. And he's on an expiring contract, so they can kind of move off of him next offseason, or they can trade him for another valuable piece that complements their rebuilding rebuilding aspirations. For the draft capital is very valuable. 4 to 6 years from now, we have no idea what the Pistons are going to look like. Kevin Durant might not be on the team anymore, or he's going to significantly decline. And there's a lot of contracts that need to be re-signed, renegotiated. So they might not be able to keep all these talented pieces on the Pistons roster at the moment. So we have no idea what this team's going to look like. That's why I'm giving up these 2 unprotected first-round picks to make the deal real sweet for the Suns. So that's my trade for Kevin Durant to the Pistons. Hope you guys enjoyed. Subscribe, leave a like, comment, whatever you want to do. Thank you guys for watching.